Hello, is Last Epoch worth it? It is 100% worth it. This is your first time here, so you haven't heard me talk about it, but I am one of the strongest proponents of Last Epoch. I love Last Epoch. I'm considering buying it. Well, I'll give you my little spiel that I give everybody. Last Epoch is one of the best new ARPGs out there, I feel. There's a full release later this year. It's like you can see on the screen, it is getting extremely popular. So we're having some servers that are down. So Last Epoch is a very good game to play as you don't need a build guide. You can if you want to, but you don't need one. The game is extremely accessible and fun from level 1. You can very easily start the game without any knowledge and learn everything as you go. And on top of that, it's once you get to the point where you can things and you can play around with builds and stuff like that, you can do that all on your own. I just, before we got kicked off, I was just able to pull my fire damage up by 700 DPS points, which is pretty big at low levels, just by switching up to a new wand and doing some crafting and adding some more affixes to my weapon. And that in other games like in Path of Exile is extremely complicated to do, and it's something it took me months to figure out. This I just kind of learned it on the fly, basically. That is my spiel. I think it is an extremely good game. It's better than D4 for sure. It's also, in my opinion, it's just behind Path of Exile in terms of quality entertainment. That being said, it looks like I'm gonna have to change games, unfortunately. So I just said all this awesome things about it, and I'm not gonna be able to show you any gameplay. So I feel a little bit bad about that. My build right now, so when I first started the Rune Master, I was trying to do a lightning build, but what it ended up being, I ended up turning it into a fire build because I just love the explosions here, but also because I wanted to try and build an ignite character, and the fire damage on the Rune Master just seems just insane, super high. I mean, so the Rune Master having this combo system, right? Every 3 runes you get this huge explosion. And to me, that's just the best of the combinations for at least the 3s. Having 3 of each rune, or having 3 of a rune. Because the lightning one, I'm not too sure damage-wise. I didn't look at the damage number for it, but it just seemed a little bit underwhelming. It was a little ball of electricity that you would shoot out in front of you. And this one is a huge fire explosion, huge meteor looking thing, and it leaves behind burning ground too. So not only is it super powerful when you get that initial hit, but it's also good for spreading ignite. And then I've also started to push for the fireball. So originally I was doing lightning blast and trying to build it that way, but now I'm doing fireball. And fireball, even though it's low level right now, it's basically just to build up my runes and spread my ignite. Because the fireballs themselves aren't doing too much damage right now. I haven't really built any extra fire damage. I don't have too much spell damage right now because I've been trying to work on my defenses first. But I know that I can probably scale it pretty well. And my ignite will scale. And once I get to higher levels, I'm just basically going to build my damage over time. And the Rune Master has this, so to kind of give an explanation, right? Rune Master has this spell called Runic Invocation. And Runic Invocation is basically your main spell as the class, which you build up runes, which is like right above me right here, or down here if you want to look at what exactly the spell is that's going to cast. But when you cast a fire spell, so like let's say I cast Fireball, right? I give myself a fire rune. If I cast Frost Wall, I give myself a frost rune. And so if I cast Fireball again, see, I gave myself another rune. So it queues up like this, and then you press Runic Invocation to then cast a specific spell based on the runes that you have and the order that they're in. So you can see, I used to have that big Fire Blast, right? And this one's the Winds of Eos, which is a fiery explosion, which a little bit of frost damage, I believe it's going to have, because I have a frost rune in there. But it also gives me a buff, so it gives me Frenzy. So yeah, so apparently there's like 40 different combinations that you can get with the Rune Master. And to be honest, I think I've really only used like maybe 15 of them, I want to say. But even if you have like one rune, you know, you can still cast a certain spell. Ooh, that's nice. But yeah, so technically what you could do if you really wanted to get into it, like really want to mess with the different runes and everything and the different spells you can do, different combinations, you can actually have a fire, lightning, and frost spell in your spell bar, and you can play around with the runes. And so that's why I feel like you can actually get pretty intense with the with like the complexity there and with the versatility. I do like they put voice acting in this. It's neat that it's sort of incentivized using different magic schools. Yep, exactly. And like depending on your build, right, then you want to change up the elements that you're using. And so like for example, if you're using a build where you need a slow, like you just need to spread frost, they have like less defenses and you want to keep people at bay, then you have frost, which chills and slows enemies. If you want to do an ignite build or just a pure spell damage build, it looks like, then you can choose fire, which is what I'm doing. I'm doing a ignite build right now. That's what I'm trying out. And then if you want to do a shock build, you can actually build into lightning. And that's what I was doing for the first like 30 levels, was I was doing lightning. I ended up changing to fire just because I changed my mind on what build I wanted to do, like endgame build. But lightning looks cool too, but I think these explosions look so much better. No lightning was spam checked. I think out of the 5 different games that I'm playing right now, this is the only one where I'm not using lightning. Awesome. I'm excited for it. I'm really excited for them to release to 1.0 and see like how far they've come. And I want to see like, I want more people to play Last Epoch. Honestly, my next video, I'm playing this right now because I want to make it into a video. I want to sort of promote how far they've come. The other thing too is I wish they well, I guess they're doing a full release, so maybe they don't have to, but one of the things is I've been asked plenty of times when the game goes on sale, like if the game goes on sale a lot, and I know it doesn't. I know it hasn't been on sale for like a good 2 years. Guys are really pushing that. It's mixed. I feel like they have a lot of time, or still have a lot to do in the list, or still have a lot on the to-do list. I don't want to rush. Yeah, that's true. I know also, like, you know, the stigma of releasing an unfinished game and then doing like live service updates. I don't know, and maybe Mars, maybe you know, but have they haven't announced that they're gonna do seasons or not? Because like I remember originally this wasn't even supposed to be a live service game, or an online game anyway. So I don't know, like, are they gonna do seasons with, or like, you know, more regular updates? Call them cycles. Okay.
They will. Okay. Ooh, almost died there. Gotta pay attention. Yeah, but I'm the same as you. Like, I really want them to like stick the landing. I think that's a good way of putting it, right? And stick the landing and make sure that when new people come in, like, they have the wow factor. Because I think they're getting to that point, but one of the things I mentioned in my video a year and a half ago was that even though the game was good, I feel like they were missing a wow factor for like new players. And I feel like they're getting to the point where the gameplay feel is getting good. Like, all the systems are working. The end game system's getting a little bit more fleshed out, you know, like these legendaries, and the loot has gotten better over time, like understanding things. But I would really like for them to, you know, do something that, for example, like PoE doesn't, like something that PoE doesn't do, right? And I think they're getting to that point where they might have a wow factor in like class diversity, build diversity, the build fantasy, you know, class fantasy. Because my favorite part about Last Epoch is that I can play this game and just, like I'm doing right now with the Rune Master, I can just play and worry about my build later. You know, like I can figure this stuff out piece by piece. The explanations are easy enough where I can like understand it myself. And on top of that, if I ever feel like I'm going in the wrong direction or I want to try something new, I can change it up on the fly. That's literally what I did with Fireball, because I was doing Lightning Blast, I was playing it, I wasn't feeling the power and didn't really know what I wanted to do with it. So then I switched to Fireball, and now I know I want to do an Ignite build. So now I'm reshaping my entire thing to go towards an Ignite build. So I really like that part. That is my favorite part about Last Epoch. I do feel like Last Epoch's dev gathered some good momentum, or goodwill over time, which could launch momentum. I hope so. And I hope all those people that have played it over the years come back to try it out, you know, because obviously it's been in early access or beta for so long, and people have come in and maybe left until, you know, like some substantial changes have been made. And I hope people come back for that launch, because I feel like it's such a different game from last year. Crafting system too, yeah. Their crafting system is just another thing, right? I love how simple this is. Right? Like I don't know why like this versus what Path of Exile has just makes it so much easier to visualize. And don't get me wrong, like I like Path of Exile's crafting system. I love Path of Exile as a game, so I'm not trying to put down Path of Exile at all. But this is so much more friendly, like accessible. So anyway, Diablo 3, I think like at launch, Diablo 3 wasn't as bad, but over time it just became the cartoon Diablo. It was almost the mobile version of Diablo back in the day. You know, it was like what's a good way of putting it? Like the arcade version, right? It was very simplified. It was very I don't want to say dumbed down, like, even though that probably is the case. That probably is a good way of putting it. But it was just simplified, you know? And so when they came out with Diablo 4, to be honest, compared to Diablo 3, it probably is more complicated than Diablo 3. But that's not saying much, you know? Just because they added more features and unnecessary stats doesn't mean that it's technically going to be better than Diablo 3, you know? I don't know how to put it. Like, I felt like Diablo 4 had such a good opportunity to build on Diablo 3 and like make it a little bit more complicated in good ways, but the unnecessary like the unnecessary stuns in combat, the unnecessary complexity of the stat system, the unnecessary grind, like all of these unnecessary things that they put into the game, I don't think it made it better than Diablo 3, to be honest. At least, again, like, this is my opinion. I didn't get that far into Diablo 4, so I shouldn't talk that much shit about it. But I'm just saying, I made it to level 35, and I got bored. Even though the story itself was okay, but I just got bored. And usually, I don't get bored of any ARPGs that fast, because I just like the simple progression, or like I just like the progression in the game. And for some reason, I could not get into Diablo 4's progression system. Yeah, which seems like D4 was created on paper where it all made sense, and they made it just kind of felt a little flat. Very good way of explaining it. Yeah, I agree. Sorry to put my finger on it when it's boring, but I definitely feel the same. Yep, I agree. And like, you know, you could tell too, because before they launched the game, like in the betas and when the devs would talk about it, you can definitely tell that they had ideas. They had what they wanted to do with the game. But I just don't think that either they weren't given the time, or they weren't given the freedom, or something. Like, maybe they weren't given the right technology to make it happen. I don't know, but they went back on so many things that they were going to say, that they were going to do. And then on top of that, I thought they were listening to player feedback in the betas, and maybe they just got too much feedback from the beta that I don't feel like they changed enough before they actually launched it. But to be honest, I think, in my words, right, I would say that what Diablo 4 lacks is a hook. You know, it's okay for casual players because you can go and play the campaign and just be, you know, content with that. But then after that, there's no hook, there's no incentive to play. So everybody played it once, went through the campaign, and then just got bored after that. And the grind made it way worse, because then anybody who was playing for the story is just going to stop right after they finish the story. They're not going to want to get past that. You know, like the other thing, speaking of Diablo 4 without a hook, right? I think that's something that Last Epoch does well, because the hook is just make your builds, right? Yeah, we have an end game, but the hook for casual players is going to be build diversity, class diversity, you know, the class fantasy. It's, you know, it's something that I was expecting out of PoE, to be honest, and PoE has that with its ascendancies, and its builds, of course. And so Last Epoch does it too, and I think that is such a good hook for casual players, you know, because it's got like a replayability value. Yeah, the campaign's going to be the same every single time you do it, but the classes are so different that you have an incentive to come back and keep playing.